What's going on, YouTube universe? Welcome to the Hip and Shoulder, and with round 22 kicking off later tonight, we are behind the 8 ball. We need to get our tips in, but let's take the time to reflect on round 21 because this shit rarely happens. I tipped a perfect round again. Just a quick reflection on the teams that did win for round 21 and just taking the time to highlight all the green ticks that I have on screen right here. We went with the Bulldogs over GWS by 15 points. It ended up being the tune of 88. Did not see that smacking coming, but hey, maybe now we need to start putting a little bit more respect on the Bulldogs' name. We went Adelaide over Hawthorn, and they won in a game that many people have touted game of the round, but also many people talking about a conversation with this being potentially game of the year, which it definitely is up there with one of the better games I've seen, especially the push and pull and the lead changes and everything else. It was very Hollywood, it was very Hawthorn, but Adelaide walked away with the win. Melbourne absolutely smacked West Coast, and do you know how they celebrated that win? By sacking their coach. Simon Goodwin is no more. Troy Chaplin has taken over as caretaker for the remainder of the year. Do they get Nathan Buckley? Do they pull John Longmire out of retirement? This is going to be a very interesting watch. The Gold Coast made an absolute meal of my boys up at People's First Stadium. We'll move on. We're not going to dwell on that for much longer. Sydney defeating Essendon in a game where I thought Sydney were going to win by 30-40 points, and Essendon truly held their own. So a game where, and I don't like using the term often, but valiant in defeat is a term that is very much used when it comes to teams that have been defeated but have put in an incredible effort. Essendon were very valiant. Brisbane over Collingwood. A lot of people thinking that tip that I made was a little bit outrageous, given the fact that I also doubled down and made that tip my lock for the gauntlet. And they hadn't beaten Collingwood since Jack Crisp was a player at Brisbane. And he has played, over 200 plus games back to back without missing. So you do the calculations. I think it was something like 2015, I want to say, or could have been even further back actually. I blown away by the fact that Collingwood over the last month have only managed to beat Richmond by 6 goals, but they have lost to the Gold Coast, Fremantle, and now Brisbane. Little bit shaky down at Magpie Land. St Kilda over North Melbourne in a game that was way too close for comfort. Geelong absolutely smacking Port Adelaide like we thought they would, and Fremantle, after trailing for 3 quarters, coming up in the 4th, finding ascendancy and putting Carlton to the sword to pick up my final correct tip for the round. I thought I might be going into this round with 9 out of 9 being the only person. I was wrong. Michael H of Yarra Villa and Michael T of Some Cripple both joining myself for a perfect round. Congratulations to both of you. It hasn't happened often this year. There has been 2 or 3 times where somebody has come out and pulled out a perfect tipping round. We always celebrate whoever tips the most correct amount of tips, but when it's a perfect tipping round, it's just that little more special, I feel. Turning attention to total tips, to no surprise, Lana S. Skyvo leading the charge on top of the ladder in first place, 138 total tips. Behind her is Beano's and Nado and Macca0303, all on 135 tips respectively, filling out 2nd, 3rd and 4th. Our top 5 is rounded out by JazzGuy13 on 134 tips. We then move down to the remainder of my top 10, which is Frio90, Gramercy Riff 78, Princess K Hill, Yarra Villa, and MRL from PA. Congratulations to my top 10. Special congratulations to Lana S for once again finishing on top of the ladder for another round of football. Turning attention to my positioning, I've moved back up to 23rd. I'm on 125. 126 is 20th. I'm 1 tip out of the top 20. It is happening, ladies and gentlemen. A top 20 finish might happen. I'm so fucking excited. Let's dive into the tips for this round and see if I can make up a little bit of ground. As I mentioned at the top of the video, it all goes down tonight at the MCG. Hawthorn taking on Collingwood in a game that is sure to be a blockbuster. A lot on the line here for both teams. Collingwood need to desperately find a win to try and get a little bit of ascendancy back and make sure that top 4 finish is locked up. Hawthorn need the win to make sure that their chances of remaining in the top 8 are held true, because we still have the Bulldogs knocking on the door in 9th place, and a lot of people are tipping that Hawthorn are going to be the team to drop out of that top 8 configuration. Looking at the ins and outs for this game, we have Will Day out of Hawthorn, but coming in for Collingwood, we have Tom Mitchell, Jeremy Howe, Billy Frampton. They have absolutely bolstered their defensive line. Tom Mitchell brings that accumulator into their midfield mix, and I feel they really missed him last week. Collingwood for me later tonight, and we're going Collingwood by the tune of 19 points. Friday night football, Geelong taking on Essendon. This is going to get ugly. This is Geelong by a margin. We could potentially see Jeremy Cameron kick anywhere from 8 to 10 goals in this game, and with only 25 left to go for him to meet that 100-goal marker, potentially in the home and away season, this game goes a long way to setting him up to get there. Saturday afternoon, first cab off the rank, we have Richmond taking on St Kilda. This is at the MCG. If this was at Marvel Stadium, I would have already clicked St Kilda here. Being at the MCG makes it a little bit more neutral ground, and I really feel, as a Richmond man, there are 2 games left for this year that we have a red-hot crack at winning, and this is one of them. We get Tom Lynch back this week, I believe. We don't have really much else going on. Maybe Tim Taranto comes back in as well and helps us out in the midfield. I'm actually going to go Richmond just as a point of difference. I want to see the ins and outs for this week, though, because if we have Tim Taranto still missing and we don't have Tom Lynch come back and they're doing more conditioning or whatever with him, I'll swap to St Kilda. But the last time these two played each other, St Kilda absolutely walloped us. So maybe I'm being an idiot tipping my boys here, but I feel this one is winnable for the Tigers. We move on over to the Gabba. Brisbane hosting Sydney. Brisbane, after scalping Collingwood at the MCG, go home with a lot of confidence here, and they're gonna do a number on Sydney. I feel defensively they're gonna tear them apart. They don't have really much going on forward half of the ball, so Brisbane's defensive line are gonna be eating very happily. The ruck battle, though, or maybe lack thereof, Brodie Grundy can find a lot of ascendancy in the ruck in this game, and that could go a long way to helping Sydney win. However, if Brisbane are smart enough to do it, they'll just rove to Brodie Grundy's tapping all day, and that's not going to help Sydney get anywhere. But Brisbane should win this one by at least 6 goals. Marvel Stadium. Later on Saturday night, we have Carlton taking on the Gold Coast Suns. Am I stupid to suggest Carlton are going to get up and win this game? I just feel, with the news of Simon Goodwin gone out of Melbourne, and then Carlton held a 5+ hour meeting to talk about Michael Voss's future, and apparently he's safe. Does that ignite something within Carlton to get a win here? I suggested the same when Sam Docherty announced his retirement, so maybe I'm being stupid again. I want to have a look at the team announcements for this round, but I'm thinking the fact that it's at Marvel, sometimes Gold Coast don't live up to expectation. They play well at home at People's First. They struggle sometimes on the road. I'm actually going to go Carlton in this game. Maybe stupid of me to do so, but we'll lock them in. Adelaide Oval, Saturday night, is the final game of Saturday. Sees Port Adelaide hosting Fremantle. I think Fremantle go down to Adelaide Oval and do themselves a due service here. They've got something very much on the line here, and that is fighting for their top 8 spot. They are the dark horse of this top 8 configuration. I feel if they make it, they're the team outside of the top 4 that can do the most damage. Going to Adelaide and picking up a big win against Port Adelaide is going to be huge. The only thing that I can see upsetting the apple cart here is the fact that Travis Boak has come out during the week announcing his retirement. So do Port Adelaide rise to the occasion here to see one of their favourite sons sent off in a emphatic way? Don't think so. I think Fremantle will get it done, but it could be close. 3 games on Sunday, the first of which is at Manuka Oval. We have GWS hosting North Melbourne. Toby Green will come back into this game. They are still going to be without Buckley and Kelly for the rest of the year, I believe. I just feel after the smacking they copped to the Bulldogs, they're going to want to bounce back in a big way. At home, should get it done comfortably, and they need to in order to stay in touch with that top 8. Melbourne taking on the Bulldogs at the MCG is the next game, and I'm going to go with the Bulldogs here. I just feel they are flying too too well to be upset by Melbourne here. The big win against GWS last week solidifies that they can play good football against better teams, but the fact of the matter is they have been flat track bullying every other team underneath them that they have played. So if that is going to be the script that they're running with, they're going to absolutely smack Melbourne in this game. And the final game of the round is at Optus Stadium, which is going to see Adelaide absolutely belt West Coast to the tune of 70 plus points to remain on top of the ladder. They have themselves in a great position here. Finish on top of the ladder, get a home final, win that home final, they get another home final. Win that, they're at the MCG playing in the grand final. I think at this point in time, the premiership, in the scope of how teams are currently playing, is Adelaide's to lose. So we are going with Collingwood, Geelong, Richmond, Brisbane, Carlton, Fremantle, GWS, the Bulldogs, and Adelaide. Looking over at the gauntlet, I've got myself in a very bad position. Essendon, Carlton, West Coast are my three teams. I'm spewing I didn't do West Coast against St Kilda when I did. Carlton is my lock this week. It has to be. It's the only one of the three that I have that I truly see being something that can go down. And then we have a look at my last two rounds. Is there any way? Essendon could beat St Kilda that round. West Coast aren't beating anybody there. And then we'd have to go West Coast in the final round of the season, in which they are playing Sydney at home. We could do this. If Carlton get up for me this round, I would be very happy to go Essendon next week as my lock, because that is a very winnable game for them. And then we roll with West Coast against Sydney in West Coast. That is it for today's video. Do thank you for joining me. Apologies for getting it out a little bit later than I anticipated. I've been a little bit under the weather this week, so it's pushed things back for me. But we're here, and we did it. Do leave a like on the video if you enjoyed. If you want to get on board the community we are building here, feel free to hit that subscribe button as well. And if you've got any comments you would like to make about how your team's performing, if you want to discuss the AFL in general, if you have any idea for content you would like to see me do, comment section down below. Let me know about it. But that's it from me, guys. I'm out of here. Good luck to your teams this weekend. And as always, I will catch you guys next time.